All right, so before we actually create this menu, we can open a level game because it will be a little bit easier to test things within this level game. So we don't need to click play every time we want to test our pause screen. So now when I press play, we are spawning in this level. So that's great. So we can close our main menu widget blueprint, and we need to go to our UI widgets because we need to create a new widget blueprint. So let's go to user interface widget blueprint, select user widget, and WB underscore pause screen. Okay. So we can open it up, but before we actually do anything here, we need to add an input for our pausing. So let's go to content, main, inputs, actions, and here we will create a new one. So right click, input action underscore pause game. Now let's go back to input app in context where we will add this input. So search for pause game. And in this case, I think pause game will be our escape button. So let's close this and let's go to our WB pause screen. And here, obviously, we need to start with canvas panel. Then on top of that canvas panel, what we can do is we can add something called background blur. So basically the background blur will blur the entire screen or this area right here. So we need to anchor this to the entire screen, reset all the offsets. Oh, 0 and 0. All right. And as for the blur strength, we can go for like 5. And you can see it is already blurring this background right here. So this pause menu will be just slightly more visible because the background will be blurred. So let's create a vertical box. We'll go the same way as we did in the main menu. So create vertical box, but this vertical box will be anchored to the center like this. Let's set the position X to 0, but I forgot about the alignment, 0.5. And for the size here, we can go for 1200. And as for the offset bottom, set it to 0. Okay, so here I want to add a text. Let's add a text onto that vertical box. This text will be centered, of course, and it will just say game paused. Okay, now we can change the color of that text to some orange color, maybe something like this. And we can also go to font, and we will change this font to our Hell's Kitchen Devil God. And now it's very small, so let's change the size to 180. Okay, it looks nice, but it's a little bit too close to the edge of our screen, so we can use our spacer. Let's put it here uh, like this. And let's make this spacer 100. Compile, save. And now under this game pause text, I just want to create two buttons, which one will be resume and the second one will be quit. So let's create a button. Let's move it to the bottom of our vertical box. And obviously it is a little bit too close to the game paused. So we can duplicate our spacer, move it under this text. And this time the spacer will be a 200. So let's go back to the button. We'll make this button a variable and let's rename this to resume button. Okay, compile, save. And we will do the same thing as we did in our main menu. So we will grab ourselves text, place it in that button. Now let's click on this button because we need to change the opacity of the background to 0 for normal, hovered, and the pressed as well. Now we can click on that text, which we can set to be a variable called resume text. And let's change the actual text to resume. Okay. As for the font, it will be our Hell's Kitchen Devil God. And as for the size, we'll go with 150. Okay, so we have our text right here. What we can do now is just duplicate this button. Let's rename this to quit button. And this text right here will be our quit text. And let's change the actual text to quit. And we can also add a spacer between these two buttons. And we can set the size of it to something like 150. So now this pause screen actually looks pretty nice in my opinion. And here we can do the same thing with these buttons as we did in main menu. So we need to go to event graph, delete all of this, click on resume button on hovered. Now get the resume text. Let's set font. Let's make slate font info. From here we will get font and we will break this. All right, now let's connect everything except font family and change the font family to be bold. Now let's click on resume button, and when we unhover, we want to do the opposite. So duplicate this, connect it here, change the font to normal font, and as for the quit button, it'll be the same thing. So unhovered, we want to copy this, change the font to bold, and change resume text to quit text. And now on quit button unhovered, copy this and set it to regular font. All right, so now let's actually see how we can use this pause screen in game.